Hello and welcome to the thorough walkthrough of the Tesla Model S. Now this video will be pretty long, so in the description box down below, I've put a timestamp to each section of the video. So if you'd like to learn more about, say, how to use the key or how to use Autopilot, you can find the timestamp down below. So we'll start off with the key. So as you can tell here, the key has three distinct sections. Starting from the front of the key, it controls the front of the car. So when you double press the front of the key, it'll open the frunk or the front trunk. The center of the key is the way to lock and unlock the car. If you press once, it'll lock the car, and if you press twice, it'll unlock the car. The last section of the key is to control the rear trunk or the rear tailgate, however you want to call it. So if you double press it, it'll open. And you can also double press the back to close the back. Now with these flush door handles, how do you get in the car? Well, there are a couple ways to do so. The first one would be using the key that I just showed you. So if you double tap the middle section of the car, the door handles will present themselves and then you can open the door. The second way is pretty useful if you're, for example, coming back from the grocery store and your hands are full, but the key is in your pocket. If you walk up to the car, the door handles will present themselves and then you can pull on the handle and enter the car. The third way is if the car is unlocked and the key is nearby, you can tap on the door handles, they'll present themselves, and then you can enter the car. To open the front trunk, there are two ways of doing so. So the first is, as I just showed, you could double tap on the front of the key and that'll open the front trunk. And the second way, if you tap on controls and then the first tab there, quick controls, you can open the front trunk by tapping on the screen. And to close the front trunk, you just have to close it manually and make sure that your hands are on both sides of the Tesla T and push firmly. To open the rear trunk, there are three ways of doing so. The first is by using the key, as I just showed. So by double tapping the back part of the key, the trunk will open. The second way is by using the touchscreen. You'll see under quick controls, there's a section to open the rear trunk. And the third way is from outside. You'll see there's a little button in the center of the car that you click, and then the trunk will open. Now to close the rear trunk, it's basically the exact same method. So the first method is by the key. You can double tap the key and then the trunk will close. The second method is through the touch screen once again. So the way you opened it, you would tap it and it would close. And the third way is when the trunk is open, you'll see right about your head level, there's a little button. If you press that button, the trunk will close. Now that you're in the car, you probably want to get comfortable. So to the left of the driver's side and the right of the passenger side, you'll find ways to adjust your seat. To adjust the steering wheel, it is the smallest little stalk on the left of the wheel. For the mirrors, it'll be right beside your left knee on the door, so right above the window controls. And remember, anytime you change the mirrors, the steering wheel, or your seating position, remember to hit save. Using the stalk on the right of the steering wheel, that's where you'll find your park, reverse, neutral, and drive. Putting it all the way down puts it into drive, all the way up into reverse. If you press the little button at the end of the stalk, it puts it into park. And then if you do a little half up or half down, it puts it into neutral. So once again, all the way down for drive, all the way up for reverse, the little button at the end for park, and half up, half down for neutral. To the left of the steering wheel, you'll find the stalk to indicate. So if you go all the way up, it's to signal right, all the way down, signal left. But you can also do little half ups or half downs, and those will do just temporary signals. So three little tuk, 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 and then it'll cancel itself automatically. At the end of the stalk, if you press the button, similar to the button for park, but on the left side, it'll do the windshield wiper once. And if you hold it in, it'll do the windshield wiper fluid. If you toggle the knob at the end of it, it'll do all the different variations of speed for the windshield wipers. So you can have them constantly on if it's, heavy rain and whatnot. The third stock here to the left of the car is your cruise control and autopilot stock. Now pay attention here. If you pull twice towards you, that'll engage autopilot. So twice towards you, that'll engage autopilot. If you pull once, that'll do the adaptive cruise control. So once, adaptive cruise control, twice, autopilot. If you wish to turn off cruise control and or autopilot, you could, just like a normal car, press on the brakes. You could also, the same stock that you use to pull once or twice towards you, you would push it once towards the road or once away from you. And the little dial at the end of it is to adjust the distance between you and the car in front of you. It goes all the way up from 1 to 7. Me personally, I like to have it between 3 and 4. Now, how do you know when autopilot is ready to be used? You'll see on the screen here, there aren't any lines or steering wheel. It's pretty bare. And that's because I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing around. However, once you're driving, you'll see that the car will pick up the lines, so there'll be 2 gray lines. Once there's a little gray steering wheel to the right of the speed you're going, once that little steering wheel is there, that means that autopilot is available. Now that doesn't necessarily mean you should use it. Maybe you're in the city streets or something, but it's telling you that it's technically there. Once you engage in autopilot, both the lines and the little steering wheel will be in blue. You'll notice on the steering wheel to the left and right of the Tesla T, there are 2 kind of jumbled sections of buttons and dials. The one to the left mainly controls your music. So if you scroll up, it's to make the volume louder, and if you scroll down, it's to make it quieter. The buttons on top and bottom is to skip the song or go back. And if you press the little scroll, it pauses, and if you press again, it plays the music. And then there's a final little section here that will control part of the screen. Now, if you hold the little scroll button, it'll pop up a menu to which you can display different things on the screen to the left. So you could choose from having the clock displayed, having your media, so your music or your podcast, whatever, displayed. You could also see your energy. You can also display your trips, your car status to see if there are doors open and the tire pressure. And finally, if you're using the navigation, which I'll show in an instant, you can have the directions displayed to the left here, which is pretty useful. To the right at the top, you have voice commands, which are pretty basic. I personally don't really use them, but you could do pretty basic things like play Coldplay, or if you have a home address, you can put take me home and it'll bring you there. Now the scroll wheel we'll come back to, because if you press the button on the bottom that looks like a little checklist or a little menu, you'll see a whole bunch of different things that scroll wheel can now control. So if you set it to temperature, for example, the scroll wheel can be used to raise or lower the temperature in the car. If you put it to fan speed, it could be to raise or lower the fan speed. You can also put display brightness to control the brightness of the screens. The one I find most useful is sunroof. So if you tap, it's to vent, and then you can also scroll to open or close the sunroof. And then if you have your phone connected, you can access recent calls or contacts through the little scroll wheel. And just like on the left side, if you hold the scroll wheel, you could then choose between little icons that are displayed on the screen. So you could choose between clock, media, so once again, music or podcast, energy, trips, the car status, or if you have your phone connected, the active call. As far as storage goes in the Model S, there is quite a bit. In the front, you of course have the Frunk, which is kind of small, kind of big, depending on who you ask. You can see here I can comfortably fit my fairly big backpack in there, no problem. The rear trunk is, I mean, absolutely huge. There's a little pocket to the left and right where you can store some stuff. There is also a section that goes down. And as you can see here, I could once again comfortably fit my fairly big backpack in there. If you're still not satisfied with the amount of room and you just need more, well, you could fold down the rear seats by using a little latch that you'll find near the seat belts. Inside the car, there is the glove box, which you have to press the little button to the right of the screen to open. And then to close the glove box, you just have to close it manually. Between the driver and passenger seat, you have a little section where you can charge your phone, put little knickknacks. There's a section that you can open to put some water bottles or whatnot. You can also use the armrest there to put some water bottles. And there's a last little section right underneath the screen where you can put your phone, for example, but I would suggest not putting anything valuable there in the case that if you accelerate, it'll go flying across the car. There's quite a bit of room in the back. As you can see here, so the driver's seat is set to my position that I would drive in. I'm about 5'12", so you can see I have about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of leg room between my knee and the seat, so I'm pretty comfortable in it. As for headroom, I have about like a finger, like a hand that I can put through my head and the glass, I suppose, so not as much headroom, but the leg room is fine. So overall it's okay. In the back you also have vents, a couple USB ports so you could charge your phone or whatnot, as well as some cup holders. If you press the little bottom section, 2 cup holders will appear. All right, now for the big screen here. So at the top left, you can lock and unlock the car. Right next to it is the lightning bolt, so you can open the charge port door from there. You could also see your state of charge. Next up here is profile. So if you want to save or create a new profile, you could do it from here. The little Tesla T at the top there's just for information of the car. It's not really needed. And then you have to check to see your signal, which is kind of low right now because I'm in the middle of nowhere, as well as the time. Continuing along the bottom of the screen to the bottom right here, we have the volume. This is more so for the passenger to control the volume, raise it up or down. We have the window defroster and everything like that. In the middle, we have the climate control, which I'll get to in just a second. Left and right, you have quick access for heated seats for both the passenger and driver side. So I'll get into the air conditioning now. So if you, there are little arrows up and down here so you can control the temperature in the car. So for example, if you like to have it at 20 degrees, you can have it there. And whoops, there you go. And as you just saw, once you press the little fan here, the all the controls come up. So you can control the fan speed from there. You can turn it on or off. The air conditioning, you could recycle the air. You have all the heated seats here, so you could have them in the back and everything. There you go, you can turn them all off. Heated steering wheel, and then you have different modes, dog mode and camp mode namely. And also here, bioweapon defense mode for which is pretty useful during times like these where it clears all the bacteria inside the car. But I'll go ahead and turn that off for now because it does make a lot of noise. To the left here, you have the little arrow now. Once you press that, you'll see there's a little menu that pops up. So if you have your phone connected, you can make calls. If you have your phone connected, you could also access the calendar. If you press on camera, it'll display the rear camera, and you can drive with this on at all times, which I sometimes do, especially in stop and go traffic when there are cars really close to the car. I like to have the rear camera on, which you can slide away. You have the energy, so you can see your recent energy graph. Right here you have the charging, which is the same as the top here, so you can see your charging status. When you're charging, you have the web, entertainment, and toy box, which is basically just all the little Easter eggs from Tesla. Next up, you have the music here, which there's basically 3 ways that you can display it. So you can have it, as you saw, like just a small, the medium, or you could have it full display. And so yeah, here you can connect your phone, which I usually do. You could also access the radio. You could have a streaming, so maybe if you don't have your phone on you or whatever, you can connect to your Spotify playlist, or your Spotify account rather, to access all your playlists. And then you can also here, for example, adjust the settings if you want more bass and no treble. You can do that there, and you can of course search all the music from there. And the last little section is at the bottom left here. So this would be your controls. Now, I won't go through all of them in great detail. It's kind of like a waste of time. There's just too many little menus and stuff. But here under quick controls, you know, the exterior lights here, this is the main thing where you can open and close the sunroof. You can open the charge port, open the front trunk or the rear trunk. Under lights, you can adjust all the lights. Under driving, this is kind of important, where you can adjust the steering, the acceleration, whether chill or standard, the regenerative braking, that's a big one. Range mode, you can adjust, creep, etc. Autopilot, most of the settings are already on like the optimal settings, but if you want, for example, lane departure warning, all that, you can have that here. Under vehicle, walk away door locks, for example, that's on. So if you have the key in your pocket and you walk away, the doors will automatically lock. And you have a couple more. If you have a child, you can have child protection lock on. Display here, you've got all the most of the settings are all on automatic. But if you change here, you can change between languages. So that's pretty useful if you want to switch to French or whatnot. And here, this is pretty interesting too. So some people are half and half. Some people prefer to see the battery in terms of percentage, and others in terms of distance. So for example, as I'm filming, I have 291 kilometers of range, but if I put that into energy, it says 75%. I'm kind of half and half. I like energy and distance. It's whatever you want. And then you have all these other here, trips and whatnot, navigation. If you want to adjust the volume of the navigation, you can do it there. And there you have it. That was an overview of the Tesla Model S. If you still have questions or comments, feel free to contact us. All our information is in the description box below. And on that note, thanks for watching.